What's happening, people? Welcome back to the channel. As promised, I did say I was going to do a video on Ruben Amorim, just to give my thoughts on the manager. I've had a few questions, a lot of questions from friends about my stance on like Ruben. Obviously, the season's only just started. We've only had 3 games, and we have a lot of the fan base calling for his head. Some of the people I know anyway calling for his head, even if they're not calling for his head. Seriously questioning whether he needs to get sacked now. And I just thought I'd do a quick video just to clarify where I stand on it. And before I get into this video, I just want to make it very clear. I'm not here to defend Ruben Amorim. I'm not here to say that you're not allowed to feel how you feel. You're entitled to feel how you feel. The manager's been here for a while now, so he's played 30 Premier League games, won 8, drew 7 and lost 15. That's almost a whole season. So look, if you feel like it should be sacked, by those stats is appalling. Like, I don't begrudge that. You can feel how you want to feel, and yeah, I'm not here to defend him. I can only speak on myself and why I want the manager to stay. But I'll get into all of that in a second. But firstly, people, if you are watching, please subscribe to the channel, press the like button, share this with your friends or family. Please, 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 especially if this is your first time tuning in, please make sure you subscribe. Don't just watch and not subscribe. Subscribe, try and help the channel grow, and hopefully I'll deliver more videos throughout the course of the season. Okay, so where do we start? Look, as I pointed out, in terms of his stats are not great at all. So I get how people feel, but I do think Ruben should be given more time in terms of how long. I'll go into that in a bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to touch on reasons why I think we should hold on to him for longer, not a bit longer, but I'll say for longer, and see, like, let him prove himself. Like, and I'm not saying that just because we hold on to him for longer, things will work out. It might not work out. It might not work out, but I just still want to hold on to this manager. I've got a feeling about this manager. My feeling might be wrong, but I've got a feeling, and I do hope that he proves me right, and I proves a lot of people wrong. I really want him to do well. I like the manager. I like how I come across. He's very open. He's very honest. At the same time, it's quite emotional, which is a disadvantage. And I do believe that's something he needs to work on, because it will, as much as it will eventually start impacting the players. And yeah, some of the fan base it questions the fan base. The fan base wants assurance, and when he has these like outbursts after games every now and then, that doesn't give a lot of the fan base the assurance that they want, saying that or quite, and always putting these his job on the line is not what we want to hear. Hopefully we'll learn from that. He's still a very young manager. Yes, United is not his first job, but it's one of the biggest jobs in the world. So he's gonna learn. He's gonna learn from the job, and he's only been here since what, November last year. We are in the start of the second season, so hopefully he learns from that and starts picking his words wisely in the and when he's getting interview after the games. And yeah, look, he's always going to speak the truth, because that's what he said himself. But he has got to pick some of these words wisely. But look, let's just go straight into the reason why I want him to stay at United. So look, one of the first reason is the tactical identity and style of play. So post Fergie, we question how we play. The only manager, I believe, post Fergie that actually had a style of play and it's clear to see on the pitch was Van Gaal. He had a possession. Van Gaal had like a possession-based like style of play. The only issue with that was quite boring. What he was doing is, although he held onto the ball a lot, we weren't creating a lot. We was more passing side to side, holding the ball in our own half, our defenders passing to each other, and not really contributing much in regards to like the game itself. We weren't getting enough goals. We weren't getting the best out of the players that we had at the time, because his main concern was holding on to the ball. Then we had Mourinho. Mourinho's concern was just to win games. He didn't really, he didn't really care how the win comes. His main concern was to win games. He didn't really focus on any style of play. We had Oli, which he played on the transition. Yeah, that helped him for the first period of his first 6 months of in the first season, but that eventually changed when we had people sitting in the team sitting in the low blocks and we couldn't break them down. So that can only work for a certain period, especially for a big team. And then we have Ten Hag. With Ten Hag, he clearly had a style of play when he was at Ajax, but he wasn't able to transform that to United. And what he ended up doing is succumbing to what a lot of the players wanted, succumbing to the pressure, and just trying to get results and playing on the transition, just like Oli did in his first season. And when he finally tried to implement his style in the second season or the third season, he just couldn't. And it didn't work for him. And what Ruben has done is, look, whatever you want to call it, 3-4-3, 5-2-2-1, however you want to call it. I'm just happy that someone has a plan. I'm happy we've got a manager that has a plan and is willing to stick to his plan. And he made it very clear. He's not saying that this is what he's going to play forever, but he just feels like if these players are not comfortable or can't get this system right, then we're going to struggle to adjust to anything else. And I agree with him. I'd rather him die by his own sword and then go out getting sacked, knowing that he's tried things his way rather than what Ten Hag did. I've seen the system in other leagues. It's been successful in other leagues. Bayer Leverkusen won the league in Germany playing like that. And they was very attacking, despite it being what people may call a 5 at the back or 3 at the back. Very attacking, same thing with Inter Milan. Inter Milan has played like that. The only team in the Premier League that has been successful winning the league playing that system will be the Antonio Conte team, Chelsea team that has won the league. So look, and from what I've seen, the first 3 games this season in the Premier League, I can see how it can potentially work. I'm not saying there's been a massive improvement from last season, but I have seen small improvement. And a lot of people tend to think like he's always got 5 at the back. That's not the case. And the formation stays at 3-4. If you watch the game in detail, what I'll make sure I'll do is when I'm giving match reaction, I'll go into like the formation. The formation does change a lot, and you got to pay attention to the detail when you're watching the game. Just don't focus on the fact that this is the how the formation start, and not looking into the detail of the game, seeing where players end up once the game start. When we're on the ball, when we're off the ball, it does change a lot. So so that's one thing fans you need to keep an eye on. But yeah, look, I'm with it. I'm with the change. I know like a lot of people are quite pessimistic about the formation. I feel like it needs to change it. And one thing, the first 3 games of the season, I'm just not relying on the first 3 games. One thing it does show is that you can be attacking playing this formation. You can create a lot of chances playing this formation. You create a lot of chances. You can't physically put the ball in the back of the net for the players. So it's entirely up to them. That hopefully they get the shooting boots on and start scoring goals. But yeah, look, I back the formation and the style of play. The next one would be like player development. Look, I know a lot of people's got to start screaming out that we're losing a lot of our young players. We lost Garnacho. Maino's not playing. Who else is there? Who else is gone? But he hasn't really brought anyone in, to be honest. But one thing he has shown at Sporting Lisbon is the amount of players that he's brought through, the players that he has developed. So if you look across the screen now, in terms of like the plays that this is just some of the plays that he's brought through. The most recent one is Quenda, which obviously he's now signed for Chelsea. The first time I watched him at Sporting Leeds, when I knew he was a player, and I was hoping we'll get him, but look, it is what it is. Decided to sign to Chelsea. Gyökeres from Coventry went to the team. He's turning into a super striker. We have the likes of like Nuno Mendes. You know what he's doing now. Porro still at Spurs. You know what they're doing. So he can obviously, there's clear signs there that he can develop players, but at the moment he's struggling to win the team over. And if the players are not doing what he wants, he has to try and develop his own team. Bring in players that are going to listen to what he wants to do. It's clear that Maino's doing something that he doesn't want him to do. And I'm not trying to, Maino's conversations for another day, but all this noise about Maino, when Maino does play, but Maino don't do much. So let's just, like, I'm not saying Maino's not a good player, he can't develop to be a top quality player, but one thing I realized about Maino, first and foremost, he struggles to get across the pitch. Honestly, struggles to get across the pitch. So if in this league where we're playing with such high intensity, you're struggling to get across the pitch, where a lot of teams try to win the ball back at the earliest opportunity that can get. If you're struggling to do that, why should you play? People might say play him ahead of like Mason Mount, but you see the work ethic and what Mason Mount does when he's on the pitch. Maino don't provide the same at the moment, and Maino obviously got to improve. If he gets in the team, he gets in the team. He has to get into the team in merit. You can't just get into the team because you're a young player. If Maino goes, let Maino go. Like the team is not winning. So I don't care about individual players right about now. The team needs to start winning. And any players that are contributing towards the team winning, those are the players that I'm favoring. I don't care about players that sit on the bench, not contributing to the team when they do get on the pitch and not doing much. I don't give a damn about that. And we have a lot of bag of talent on the 18s and the 21 teams. We have a lot of talent there. And one thing Jason Wilcox has done is he's brought in a lot of talent, and the way they shaped up the our under 18, under 17, there is bags of talent there. So if we lose May, like, look, I don't want us to lose him. Obviously, want him to do well, but it's not the end of the world. We will pick up someone else. It's Manchester United. We bring young players in all the time. It's not the end of the world if we lose him. Look, Garnacho's gone. Look, all the best to him. It's not the end of the world. It's simple as that. So look, it's clear, it's evident that he can develop players. But for now, it needs to start focusing on players that are going to get him result, players that are going to play the way he wants. There's no point of bringing young players in because they're young players. It doesn't make sense. You got to bring them in with intention, knowing that they're going to do the right things when they get on the pitch. So, yeah, player development, he's obviously got that. And then just the long-term vision. So, and I said at the beginning of this like video that we need to give him time. You might not like what I'm about to say, but we got to give him at minimum this whole season. At minimum, there's no whole season. I'm not a reactionary fan. Like, don't get me wrong. If it gets to the point where I think enough is enough, I'll say enough is enough. But I'm not a reactionary fan where I'm going to start judging the manager after every single game. I'm not doing that. That's just not in me. The last two managers with Ollie, I didn't want Ollie in the first place. So I was very vocal that I wanted Ollie out. Very, very vocal that I wanted Ollie out because I didn't want him in the team I didn't want him to manage the team in the first place when a lot of people got carried away in terms of what he did when he took over the role for like the first 6 months. I wasn't carried away with that. He done a great job, but I wanted to move on from him before he was made permanent. So I was very vocal with that. In terms of Ten Hag, I didn't start speaking out about Ten Hag until like a season and a half. I believe if I start speaking up, I definitely didn't say anything about him in the first season. It'd probably be towards the ending of like his second season that I start calling out his name and start weighing him out. So those two managers, I know, yes, they had like better starts than Amorim, but you've got to give him at least just as much time we've given the other two managers. So yeah, for me, at minimum, there's no point keeping him over the summer if we're just gonna go and sack him like during the course of like middle of the season, as long as he doesn't have the same season he had last season. Like obviously we can't finish 15th again. I get that. But if we're still, I give him my prediction in my other video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I still think we should be like the top half of the table. I think we should finish within 6th to 8th. Like between 6th to 8th. And as long as we're within that, I don't want to hear sack the manager or whatever it is. We have to be realistic for where we're coming from. Like from what we did last season to this season. As long as within points, reaching distant to that position, I don't want to hear anything. I just give him the season. And look, I know I was about to mention 2 managers. I know their stats is better than what Amorim's got. I know he's better than Amorim got, but I'm just going to use them as an example. The whole person to use them as an example is that look, they didn't start off well. They weren't winning games galore. They still had shaky starts. So I went into like Arteta and Jurgen Klopp's first 30 games. So they won 13, both won 13. Arteta drew 7, Jurgen drew 9, Arteta lost 10, and Jurgen lost 8. The point I'm trying to make, yes, their stats is obviously a lot more, it's better than Amorim, but it just to show that they had shaky starts as well. They didn't just kick off with like top 4 positions or whatever it is. Like they had shaky starts. It took them time to adjust them. So they've had that whole season. Like I think they both came in the middle of a season as well. So I know Arteta probably had, and I think Klopp probably had like almost 30 game in his first season as well. Pretty much similar to Ruben and Arteta. He probably had a lot less, but the point I'm trying to make is, yes, their stats is better than Ruben. It's not as bad as Ruben, but they also had shaky starts. So yeah, let's just leave it as that. I just think he should be given more time, and at minimum for me, let's give him until the end of the season. And also one point I'm trying to make, I also want to make is, he's done like Ruben is not a manager that just walked into the job without not deserving it. You maybe you can say, oh, this job might come too early for him. Fair enough if that's what you want to say. But I just don't think he hasn't done a lot of the legwork. He's done a lot of the legwork already. Ruben, when he was at Sporting Lisbon, we're forgetting Sporting Lisbon hasn't won a title for 20 years. He didn't just walk into Sporting Lisbon. He didn't walk into a successful team. He had to change a lot in that team. Yes, Portuguese league is not like the Premier League. I get that, but they still haven't won a title for 20 years. If it's not because of his player development, the players that he's brought through, the players that he brought, his system, Sporting might still be in the same position. So like, let's just make that clear. He didn't walk into like the team without not deserving it, without not doing a lot of the legwork. Like if Oli got a permanent job without much experience, or he didn't have much in his CV. Oli, I think before that, who did he manage? If I can't even recall what team he managed before that, he did not have much on his CV. So look, Ruben's got the job because he deserves it. Yes, we can argue maybe this job might come too early for him, but at minimum, let's give him some time and see what he can do. And as I said, I'm going to keep making it perfectly clear. I'm not saying it's definitely going to work. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the man deserves a try, and don't let us write him off too soon. That's all it is. And yeah, and lastly, it's just like his mentality and the culture shift. Look, obviously, last season, he's made it vocal with like he's concerned with some of the players, the discipline in the squad. And I know that same thing that Ten Hag voiced, and what we tend to do as fan base is always backing the players. And it happens quite often in United. Mourinho had the same issue when Mourinho was having to go at the players. But one thing that has been clear over the years is that the players that we backed hasn't shown us nothing. The players that we backed haven't brought nothing to the table. Look, we're still same old shit United since Fergie has left. And I think for once, let's try and back the manager. I'm not saying back the manager blindly, but if it's come to the point where it feels where you feel like he can't do the job, and his system is not good enough, or the way his manager team is not good enough, by all means let him go. But yeah, look, I think he's in terms of like bringing discipline into the squad, I think he's done very well. Players that haven't bought into his system, his rules, or whatever, like whatever the culture he's trying to create within like the squad, they've left. And that's good to see. And the players themselves, like, this is not me saying it. If you listen to a lot like the interviews from the players, pre-season, starting at the start of the season, is that the dressing room hasn't been good like this for a long time, and which is refreshing to hear, and it's refreshing to know that these players are holding each other accountable, and I think that's something we struggle. The squad has struggled with for a long time. No one holds themselves, other players accountable. Everyone tends to like jump on the bandwagon that is always the manager's fault. I'm not saying Ruben is always right, but he's trying to set the right culture, trying to do due diligence when they are buying players with the right mentality. Players are that want to be in the squad for a reason, and players that want to win. Is trying to build a winning squad, and I think in terms of what he's displayed and how open and honest he is, I don't think he has the right mentality, and I do think he's trying to build the right culture within the team. Other managers are failed doing this, and I'm not saying so much that other managers fall, but it's the fact that a lot of fan base media are always critical of how managers handle any manager and player situation at Man United. Look, it is Man United, so they are going to be a lot critical. They are going to scrutinize every little thing that's going on in the club, but I think he's going in the right direction. I think what's important is to make sure that the board backs him, which seems like they're backing him, and they just got to give him an opportunity to do his work. If it doesn't work, we at least know that it didn't work. He's tried his best. But one thing I'm not willing to do at the moment, I don't want to do, and I hope the board is thinking the same thing. I'm not ready to go back to the drawing board again to try and start looking for a new manager without giving this manager at least until the end of the season. The only way I will want this manager to be sacked during the course of the season is if we're fighting relegation. If we're 15th again and going through the same old issue that we were going through last year. But as long as we're within the top half, fighting for like top 6, like I think, as I said, I think the 5th to like 10th position is going to be close. As long as we're within reachable distance to that, then I think the manager should stay. Like at minimum for me, it should stay for the season. Whether or not he does, we'll see. But that is why I wanted to say that's why I'm backing him. I've made it very clear so people can stop asking me. So I'm not going to be overreacting after every game, asking the manager to leave or question every little thing he does. Yes, look, it's all right to question some of his tactics, it's all right to question some of his decision. But when we start saying, let him sack him, so and so, look, I'm not ready for that at the moment. I'm not in that mind space. So you can stop asking me, unless, as I said, come 15th game or so, or halfway through the season, we're fighting for relegation, something like that. Then that's slightly different. But as long as we're within reach distance for between 6 and 8, then I'm all good with Ruben. I still trust Ruben for now. In Ruben, I trust. Hopefully, yeah, it works out, man. So we just have to wait and see. But yeah, that's my video on Ruben. Please, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Share this with your friends and family. If you do have any questions, let me know. I'm going to try and drop a preview for the match against Man City next, and that should, if that's not my next video, it should come. It should be. I'll see anyway. That might be my next video. It might not be. I might drop something else. But yeah, I'm gonna drop regularly. I didn't want my videos to be this long. Well, look, I'm already talking for quite a long time. But as I said, please subscribe, share this with your friends and family, and I'll be back in my next video. We out. Peace.